Hi guys, welcome back to Dev Astrology. Today I am coming with the 2025 yearly reading, and this one is for the sign of Aries. Guys, we've been listening a lot of discussion that 2024 was the year of Saturn and 2025 is going to be the year of Mars. And that is why probably the reading for Aries and Scorpio becomes all the more critical, but we are going to be touching upon Aries in this particular segment. Now, what we observe interestingly during the course of this year is that there are multiple transits, major transits that will be coming into effect. You will see the transit of Jupiter twice. It is currently in the sign of Taurus. It will move into Gemini. It will then transit later into the sign of Cancer as well. There is a Hindi term that is being used for the same called as Atichari, which means that there will be a very strong, fast paced, progressive movement of this Jupiter, which is going to impact us at depth. At the same time, we are also going to see the magnanimous transit of Rahu and Ketu, who are currently sitting in the sign of Pisces and Virgo, respectively. And they will be moving in the retrograded direction, with Rahu coming into its own Rashi, the co owner of which it is called, in the sign of Aquarius, while Ketu will be moving in the sign of Leo. And the third most critical transit will be that of Saturn, where Saturn will be transiting into the sign of Pisces. And of course, there will be multiple zodiacs that will be coming into play with respect to this Saturn's transit and causing Sadesati as well. Whilst all these three major transits will be taking place, there will be one extraordinary transit of Venus as well, where Venus is going to be staying in the sign of its exaltation in the sign of Pisces for about 110 days in the first half of the year itself, which I think begins from 27th of January. And then you also see the continuous interesting movement of Mars. It has got into retrograde already, and we will talk about maybe in some of the monthly videos as well, where we'll touch what impacts Mars and rest of the planets are going to be causing. But without further ado, let's jump into this and figure out as to what is going to pan out as 2025 starts for you. Of course, in my December reading, you would have checked the current placements, and if not, you can always go back and read through, skim through that particular video to understand the impact. But as we get started, in the month of January itself, the first key transit will come into play is that of Venus, which comes into exaltation in your 12th house. At this position, Venus will be coming in conjunction with Rahu, and it is going to be very, very critical because Aries, for you, I anticipate that some really big, luxurious expenditures. If I may say, the intoxication of Rahu in conjunction with Venus is going to come into play. You are going to be intoxicated in terms of exploring everything that you could be passionate about. It could be with respect to the kind of food you eat, the kind of cuisines you enjoy, the kind of gifts and spending you do for your family. Remember, Venus is the lord of your second house, and you might be enticed to do something. You might be enticed to make some very heavy acquisitions for that very reason. You will be making some sort of an investment that brings happiness to your family, and that investment will not be of small scale, but something bigger in size. This presence of Venus also showcases being the lord of your 7th house in 12th and exaltation, that many of you could actually be making some spending for your life partner, for your spouse. People who are in working professions, especially people who are running their own ventures and businesses, I see you guys making some sort of big investment into your projects as well. And I don't think you are going to shy away from that, even if that is not in charter right now. Somehow or the other, it will start mobilizing starting from the last week of January all the way to February, March, and April. That is where you will find the presence of this Venus in your 12th house itself. And yes, Rahu will be present there. Rahu and Ketu are making their transit. The first transit actually is coming into play, that of Saturn. Even before Rahu and Ketu make their transit, Saturn is the one which is going to be making its transit on 29th of March. And that is when your sign of Pisces or your 12th house becomes extremely populated because Saturn will also be moving from your 11th house to your 12th house. So you will have a 3 planetary conjunction with Venus, Saturn, and Rahu to a certain extent. And I would want you to be watchful as well, because as this movement happens, your lot of karma, your lot of gains is coming into the 12th house. People, especially who are engaged with any kind of foreign relationships, import and export sort of business, or you have any major investments with respect to long term, long distance travel, you might benefit out of this transit. However, for everybody else, I would want you to be careful, because this could bring in losses. It could bring in big expenses. It could bring in expenses with respect to your health as well, especially because Saturn is moving into the 12th house. And Saturn's presence along with Rahu will be tricky. It can bring in certain challenges with respect to health as well. However, at the same time, this multi-planetary conjunction in your 12th can also bring in gains with respect to your career if you are making short distance travels or short duration travels, but in an international location. So you see how the planets are going to give that impact to you both negatively as well as positively during this period in the first 3 to 4 months duration itself. Then what we notice is that Jupiter, before the big transit or the true transit of Rahu and Ketu comes into play, Jupiter will be moving into the sign of Gemini, which is your third house from its current second house location on around 14th of May. And it will remain in that house until 18th of October before it moves into its sign of exaltation in your 4,000 Cancer. So that's another interesting movement that is coming into play, guys. Now, this Jupiter, as you see, is the Lord of your fortune, your 9th house, as well as your 12th house, currently transiting and forming a form sort of a Dhan Yoga in your second house itself, will be moving into third. It is going to emphasize, and see, Jupiter is going to have an Atichari movement throughout the course of the year. It is the year of Mars. It is going to be an year where you're going to be expected to work hard. All planets are going to be transiting during this year. So you will have to figure out that are you making the right efforts, right input, right hard work, which is going with respect to your profession or not. Because if you bring in certain travel, certain kind of association to short trips, it is definitely going to give a positive boost and impact to your career. In fact, I would say it is one of the best remedies as well, that if you feel stuck at any point in time, at any circumstance which is giving you a lot of trouble, you must take just a short tour outside the limits of your city and come back. And you will find that you are able to fix the issues that are arising at your workplace. The Jupiter's presence in your third house is going to be giving an aspect to your 7th house, 9th house, and 11th house. And this is going to be especially phenomenal because at the same time, you see that Saturn is going to be sitting in your 12th house, aspecting your second house. It is going to limit your gains, but Jupiter is going to take care of your 11th house and ensure that you fight for the growth, for wish fulfillment, for your desires being achieved during the same phase itself. Now, of course, as Jupiter is giving an aspect to your 7th house, it is going to bring in some interesting culmination and opportunities for you to get married, or maybe at least few conversations around the right partner might also start. This would also be a period where you will notice that you would be interested in terms of starting something new, any new kind of engagement, maybe new job opportunity coming in your way, or your superiors, your bosses themselves coming up to you and asking you to take up a new project, undertake a new start. And you must consider that opportunity coming your way and figure out if you would want to embark in that journey or not. I think it is going to be panning out in a positive direction for you folks. Health is going to be critical for the first half of the month, guys, first half of the year in 2025, guys. I'm so used to calling the month. But because Saturn is sitting in your 12th and it is going to be aspecting your 6th, and Jupiter, whilst it will guard you as long as it is sitting in your sign of Taurus itself, the moment it moves into your third house, that freedom will get juggled and you will have to figure out as to how you are addressing those challenges. Because remember, Mars still remains turbulent. It will get into direct motion, come back to the fourth house, and be transiting into the fifth and sixth signs, which is your Leo sign, and later into the sign of Virgo at a later point in the second half of the year. So the first half of the year is where you'll have to be a little cautious about all these aspects. Now, the most important transit, I think, is going to be that which occurs on 29th of May, the true transit that happens where Rahu comes into your house of gains, into your 11th house, and Ketu moves into your 5th house. And we have to now understand in cohesion what is happening. Rahu coming into 11th is a very strong indicator that this will be the period where you could actually materialize a lot of your gains. Expansion, that investment that you had thought of, planned for, invested into in the first half of the year, whilst Venus was sitting exalted, with Rahu's movement into 11th, you will find that it will all be moving into fruition. So you have to be very clever, sure, smart in terms of understanding that how you are picking your choices, picking your bets in terms of going about it. It is also important to note that with the same transit, Ketu will be moving out of your sixth and getting into your fifth house. Means relief is definitely going to come with respect to health. But at the same time, when Ketu comes into the fifth house, you have to understand this is where you will have to be very, very clever and sharp with respect to your romances, with respect to your relationships. Because for many of you, you will find turbulences coming in with your relationships. Many of you will see breakups happening as well. It could also be a reason that you might turn workaholic and you might have greater interest towards your professional life, which might take away time from your personal life as well. And that is also how you can interpret impact of this Ketu. Parents who are watching this, you must spend more time with your kids because they would need you. This could be a tricky period for conceiving or family planning in general. Students watching this video must understand that it is very, very important to put more hard work into your studies, into your career and profession, because somewhere or the other, you might lose interest in terms of your education itself. However, Jupiter's presence in the third house and later its exaltation into the fourth is going to bring a lot of relief, and it is going to again enable you to work harder in that direction. Now, when we talk about love and relationships, it's going to be a mixed period. As I said, in the start of the year, you are going to be doing a lot of spending investments towards your family members, towards your loved ones. But as you start moving towards the mid part of the year where Jupiter starts aspecting your seventh house, many of you will be able to materialize that into marriage, into new relationships in itself. However, as the transit of Rahu and Ketu becomes powerful, you will have to actually refer to your natal chart as well and figure out whether or not it causes any turbulence in that direction or not. This is also a period where you will notice that with Rahu's presence in your 11th house, your motivation towards expanding your efforts is going to increase. However, it will also bring some sort of confusion, some sort of magic affair with Rahu aspecting your 7th house along with Jupiter aspecting your 7th house. Things will be brewing, things will be turbulent. But as Jupiter gets into exaltation and the aspect is gone from the 7th to the 8th, you will realize that Rahu becomes more powerful with all those aspects. But I hope that Jupiter exalted, giving an aspect to the 8th house, is going to keep you guys at check. At the same time, you have to understand at the fag end of the year, the aspect of Jupiter will be a debilitated one towards your career. Well, Jupiter's presence in the fourth is, and that too in exaltation, is not a bad position at all. It is a great position to be in. But this will require you to put in a lot more effort, especially in the month of November and December, to find any good results. Overall, I think it is going to be an year of mixed results. It's going to be an year where if you are directing your efforts in the right direction, if you are working in terms of the dashas that you see in your natal chart as well, you are going to find a lot of fruit coming your way. And last but not the least, guys, if you feel you want to undergo a transit as well as natal study for 2025, reach out to me, drop your pings on Instagram, or email me on the details provided on my channel, and I'll be happy to provide readings. You can find more details once you contact me. Thank you for watching and enjoy your 2025.